Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back for Silver. It is round 6. Blimey, we are flying through. Round 6 already then for Silver Season 8 then. So far so good then here in Silver. We are in Miami, the Sunshine State, if you didn't know that already. I think I've said it about every time I've commentated or spoken about Miami in any regard in Formula 1 terms, that is. But the Sunshine State, goodness me, I couldn't even get my words out there. If you watched Gold last night, definitely wasn't sunny in Miami, then especially for the race, that is. But of course, it was nice and dry in qualifying. We'll have to wait and see what Silver are going to be taking on here tonight then. But looking forward to an excellent event then once again then from the Silver Stallions. And let's see what they can do then. Marsky is a reserve driver today, but he is in the McLaren then in place of Kydell, who of course is on his Belgian holidays at the moment then, I believe. So hopefully he'll be back in a week or two's time. But Marsky then stepping up to the plate then, I should say. Coming in from bronze then, Rocket Lee has said even all good luck to all the drivers then in the comment section. And of course, good luck to Rocket Lee tomorrow night here in Miami as well then for bronze. But we'll get on to that then, as we've got to tackle Silver first then. Qualifying is underway then, 16 minutes left of the session here in qualifying before we get ourselves ready for the 29 laps then of the Grand Prix itself then. And of course, this sets the grid then for the start of the race, as usual for qualifying, that is. But there we are then. Marsky then is the first man on track then, the first man on a flying lap here tonight. So we'll stick on board with the McLaren driver then as we go through sector 1 then, negotiating through the S's section then, invalidating through the S's section as well, unfortunately for him. So we'll switch on to someone else then. Tonto is back in the car then, in the Haas then. Of course, he got a fantastic, I think it was it Saudi Arabia or Australia, I think it was, his debut full-time seat in the Haas, replacing Dopey Lemons, who unfortunately didn't take the start of the season even. But unfortunately for, well, not unfortunately for Haas and for Tonto, he has stepped right in then. He got points in his first full-time appearance then, only 2 rounds ago I think that was, or 3 rounds ago now, and looking to add to that tally here tonight as well then for the Haas team then, in a home Grand Prix for the Haas pair as well, because of course we're in the US of A if you didn't notice. But so far so good then for Tonto then, flying through into the technical part of the circuit now, trying to negotiate through under this underpass section, this highway section as well then, without getting yourself invalidated, and he has done that very well so far then. Good stuff indeed. Now into sector 3 then, what's it going to be? It's a 1 minute 1:06.72 then for sector 2's time. Let's see what it's going to be then for, is already flashing away then on the ERS then for the Haas driver. That's not going to be good news down this back straight though. Let's see what we can do then into the final, or penultimate quarter I should say then, around in that very nicely, and down to first gear then for the Haas driver. That's going to be very treacherous indeed if you try and get the power down too early, but he has managed to get himself through and up to the line. It's a 26.7, which is better than my time, and very good stuff indeed then. Kiki has gone faster still with a 26.1 then in the Mercedes, then 6/10 faster than the Haas driver. Then Duke has jumped into the kick Sauber tonight, then he's in the 27.8s, as Camaro then jumps up to a 26.2 as well, then just behind Kiki by a 1/10 of a second or so then in the Williams. Goodness me, he needs to slow that car down, and he has done, thankfully. Good stuff indeed. Vanquish then at 27.3 then for the Ferrari reserve. He is in place of R2B, who again is on holiday as well then. Ultimate Beast, the current championship challenger, then 26.5, then he is a 10th away then from his teammate currently, 4/10 away from his teammate currently. Yellow flags fluttering away. Jay Hings just starting off a lap then, but he's not got much ERS to play with on this flying lap then, unfortunately for Jay Hings. So we'll come back to him then. Nistra Elite's on track as well, going through sector 2. Where is Mumford? Mumford's on medium compound tyres. We'll have to wait and see what he's going to be up to. Plotters then is all action out here. I can't keep up with it all, to be fair. There we go then. Mumford, will stick on board with Mumford, of course, the championship leader currently, after getting a couple of wins under his belt, then leaping ahead of Beast. Well, not leaping ahead, he's creeping away from Beast, I should say, in P2 in the standing for Beast. But they have been on the money then, these two, between Mumford and Beast then in the first 3 rounds. Then Mumford P5 then on the medium compound tyre, 26.8 for him. Reflection at 27.3 then, P7 for the time being. Marvsky 28.1 then for the first outing here for the McLaren driver. Good stuff indeed. Jay Hings, I think, is abandoned his time, then he is coming back to the pit lane. He's not using much ERS there on this lap. Then Mr. Elite in the McLaren, then rounding the penultimate corner. Then let's see what the McLaren driver can do here in Miami, then passing the Hard Rock Stadium, then flying through, then up to the line. It's a 27.4, puts himself P8 for the time being. Brilliant stuff indeed then from Mr. Elite. Then let's see what Plotters is up to though. Plotters then coming through in the Red Bull P2 then for Plotters, then a 26.201 then. That is less than 10th away then from pole position. He is on the front row the grid then as it stands. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then we've got more people filtering through, but I think they're going back into the box now after completing their first outings here in qualifying. Brilliant stuff indeed. That was action-packed already then. Good stuff. Rick has said good luck all as well then. Hopefully Rick is coming back from his holiday soon, and we will get him back in the Ferrari as well then in the very near future. Then Gordo said not been on the game for near 2 weeks then, so apologies if I'm slow. But of course, Gordo then he was actually challenging for the top of the the podium of the standings, that is, in the last couple of races. I think he might have dropped away then after missing last week. Then so we'll see what he can do. Can he regain the form then? Of course, after taking his holiday, I think it was last week as well. Then so unfortunately we had got a couple of people on holidays at the moment. But of course it is the summertime, so. It is prime holiday season, isn't it? But fair enough to the drivers then who have got themselves onto the track then to put us on a show here tonight then, and we will be looking forward to a fantastic show here in Miami. Of course, it is a star-spangled grid then. It's a star-spangled county. It's a star-spangled state, and we are looking forward to what's going to unfold then. 29 laps around this circuit. Of course, one of the newer circuits to the F1 grid, and I think not one of everyone's favourites, put it that way. So we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold in terms of the racing as well here. Tonto's up to a brilliant P5, a 26.7 then from Tonto. I think that's his second attempt then. He's back out already on another out lap as well then. So good stuff indeed from Tonto, looking fast here in Miami tonight. Marvsky back on circuit then. Marvsky back underway, I should say, then going through into the technical part of the track. So far, so good then for Marvsky then. Currently P11 then, slowest of the time runners then, but I don't think he got his best time in his first run then. So maybe just setting a delta time for himself to try and improve on in his second attempt, I should say. Then Purple in sector 2, and that is almost 4 tenths up on his time. Then that will put him in the range of P10 then, just ahead of Duke at the moment. Duke is in the kick sour then, looking forward to seeing what Duke can do tonight. And he is up for the challenge in the kick sour. But then the green machine, of course, then this is the orange machine. Then it's the Papaya McLaren then coming through the final couple of quarters then to finish off the lap. Deployment used for Marvsky up to the line. It's a 27.9, improves by 3 tenths of a second, but he stays P11 for the time being. Then good stuff indeed. Then a few more out laps then for Ferrari drivers. I think it is Vessier on track then. Vessier has got himself onto a set of soft compound tyres and back underway I should say then, for his first attempt here. We will ride on board into turn 1 then with the Ferrari then kicking out that back end a bit, then going through turns 2 and 3. Now very treacherous, getting on the curbs through there. He has got on the curb there, and that might have cost him a bit of time then, as the I think it was the Mercedes getting out of the way, then coming out the pit lane there was potentially Kiki or Beast. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but one of them was coming out the pit lane there, but never mind. Here comes the Ferrari of Vessier, then he's invalidated going wide there, unfortunately. Very costly indeed, and unfortunately for Vessier, then that is going to be another lap around, I should say. And then Duke is on the mind, because Duke is here in the kick sour, then coming down the back straight then in sector 2. Purple in sector 1. And that is not looking too shabby then for the Duke. Then here he comes then down the back straight, then getting a nice toe potentially then from a Haas car, just getting out the way there. Oh goodness me. I coughed and tried to commentate at the same time. That is bad news. Goodness me, that's not. I hope it's not going to be like that for the rest of the stream. But my goodness me, that was terrible. Right then, Duke then doing a good job, I should say. Then there we go. I've got my words out finally. Then here he comes. Then 2 tenths up on his previous best. Then that would put him. It wouldn't put him further up the order. Then Mistral coming and holding on to that P9 position by over 4 tenths from Duke as it stands. And so Duke needs to find some time then in the final sector if he wants to improve his position then on the grid. Here he comes now round the penultimate corner, then flying through in the green machine. There's a few cars just starting in the laps in front of him, but I think they're all out of the way instead of impeding. Then here he comes up to the line. Then what's it going to be for Duke? And it is a 3/10 improvement. Then puts himself, well, stays P10 I should say, 27.530 then for the kick Sauber driver. Then good stuff indeed. Who is next across the line? We've got a Red Bull. It's Plotters just starting a lap then, so we'll have to go back to see what the Aston Martins are up to, as it is. It looks like it is Jay Hings then on a flying lap, then his first lap of the session. Here he comes then up to the line. What's it going to be? A 27.5, puts himself P11 just behind the Duke then by 3 hundredths of a second then in P11 then for the Aston Martin driver. Been very good and consistent has Jay Hings in the first few rounds then, picking up some good points then for the Aston Martin outfit as well. So we'll have to wait and see what he can do then in the race, of course, itself. And can he improve further in qualifying? I'm sure he can. But we'll have to find out then. Reflection improves then to P7, then a 4/10th improvement then from the Williams driver. Then he is flying around here. Brilliant stuff indeed. Up into P7 for him. Then Mumford has jumped up to P2 with a 26.1 as well. Then he is only, what is that mathematically? Goodness me, I'm trying to work it out then. I think that's 17,000 of a second away from pole position. Then Kiki back out on his second attempt of qualifying as well here. Plotter's dropping down, but he's on the track now on the flying lap. Then Kamara Racer up into P4, 26.2 for him. Then into the pits he goes. Then ultimately he's back out on circuit. Then let's see where Beast is going to go. Then here he comes. Then here comes the Beast. It's pole position then for Beast. Then as it stands at 25.956, puts himself the first driver into the 25 so far. Then good stuff indeed. Here comes Irvine. Oh no, it's not Irvine. Sorry, it's Tonto back in the pit lane. Then Irvine has got himself up into P6. So both the Hasses looking strong at this outing, or this so far in the qualifying, I should say. Then. Hate the track, says Luke. Then goodness me, then I missed the next race, says Rick. Then and hope after that is hope, and I hope my seat is clean. So yeah, goodness me, who knows what's been going on in your seat then, Rick, but fingers crossed it will be all right then for your return. We'll have to wait and see. Then Gordo's on a lap. Then where is Gordo? He is flying up to the line. Then no, he's not flying up to the line. Then I thought he was on a lap then, but he has started off another lap. Then Farf unfortunately has invalidated his time, so unfortunately for Farf then he is not going to be able to set his time on this occasion, as we've got more out laps to go. Then Vanquish is back on a lap. Then Vanquish is 7/10 of a second up on his time. That is going to be a massive improvement if he can hold on to it then through the final sector. Let's see what the Ferrari driver can do then as we go down the back straight towards the penultimate corner. Then 5 minutes left of qualifying here into the heavy braking zone then of the penultimate corner. Then the Ferrari rounds it very nicely indeed, then trying to get the power down as early as you can then without losing the back end. Then here he comes then up to the line then for Vanquish. It's a 26.6, puts himself P6 then with a 7/10 of a second improvement though. Fantastic stuff indeed then. Brilliant stuff from the Ferrari driver. What an improvement indeed as well. Beast then is cruising back to the pit lane. He's done a 25.9 to set the pace. Then both the Mercedes on the front row of the grid. Then it could be another Mercedes front row lockout here. Oh, goodness me, what's happened? Oh, that was far. I thought that was far spinning then. Here comes Gordo. He's sliding around the sector into sector 3 I should say. Let's see what he can do here. Then Vassia started off another lap, then out laps for Swanshanks. Then Sweet Empty P is still stuck in the pit lane. Then the same for Vintage and Riyadh, but we'll see what they can do then in the next few minutes. Of course there's still time in qualifying as Gordo has invalidated going too wide. Then I think he needs to come into the pit lane. Yes, he is coming in the pit lane. Unfortunately for Gordo, not a valid lap on that occasion. Then just validating it the final chicane, final chance I should say, not really a chicane. There we go. Camaro has started off his flying lap, then second attempt for the Camaro, for the Williams driver I should say, then coming through the long left-hander into sector 2, then making sure you get that right is imperative to your lap time as well. Then here he goes, then purple in sector 1 then by, well, 46 thousandths of a second. It's not much, but it's still good as Beast has retired in the pit lane. So Beast is done and dusted in qualifying, potentially saving a set of tyres then for the race itself then, but that could be costly indeed for Beast with the likes of Kiki, his championship rival, and of Mumford right behind. Well, only a tenth and a bit, or tenth or two, tenth and a half or so behind as it stands. Then that is going to be very confident for Beast then to get himself a pole position once again then here in Miami. But here comes Camaro Racer then. Oh, he's only 20 thousandths of a second up under sector 2 now into sector 3. Then can he keep it all together? Then can he improve on this lap time? He just needs a few thousandths of a second to get himself onto the second row of the grid. Then it's not too far away, but let's see what he can do then here as he comes around the penultimate corner now. Looking forward to seeing what Camaro Racing do. Of course, he reserved in gold last night and did a good job then in the wet conditions. Fingers crossed it's not raining for Camaro then here tonight then as he's come back to the pit lane, not improving I don't think on that final lap then, unfortunately for him. Tonto's back on the track as well. Then we've got Swanshanks flying through. Where is he? Swanshanks is flying, but he's flying up to, where is he going? He's flying into a 39.1 then, so he goes up to P14 as unfortunately 6 drivers have not got a time on the board just yet then, so that is not looking promising for those drivers. Tonto coming through the chicane then, the underpass section into sector 3, then making sure he doesn't clout that wall, then almost 0.3 of a second up, then that will put him in the range of P6 then with Vanquish, or ahead of Vanquish. Looking good so far then, but he's not got much battery to play with though. Here he comes then into the penultimate corner, then the Haas, the ERS light flashing away then on the back of that car as we fly through the final couple of corners now as well, then past the Hard Rock Stadium then, which is going to be alive with the sound of F1 then. Into P6 he goes then at 1.63, the improvement then for, 0.163, the improvement then for Tonto, then puts himself on the third row of the grid then with Camaro Racer as it stands as well then. Good stuff indeed then for the Haas driver then. Both the Haas is looking strong then in the top 10 as it stands as well. Then here comes the Duke, then he is 2.5 tenths up on his time, then that would put him into the top 10 as it stands then, with Mr. Elite just ahead of him in terms of the deltas, that is. But let's see what he can do then in the final sector. Can he keep it all together? Then can he improve even more? We will find out now as he comes around very wide then into that final couple of corners as well. Then that's going to compromise his exit, I think, into the last couple of turns. And here he comes up to the line then. What's it going to be? It's a 27-1 then, puts himself P10 then into the top 10 then for the Duke then. Good stuff indeed. Brilliant stuff indeed as well then. Gordo is sliding, he said, then that is why he's having some problems out there. Not set a time on the board just yet for Gordo, unfortunately, out there for the time being, that is. But of course there is still time in the session. There's a minute left and a lot of drivers now on their out laps here as well then. A few drivers then on their flying laps as well. This is going to get very dangerous for Irvine then, who is going to have to go through the technical section with a lot of cars then blocking the way, I should say, or in the way almost, I should say then, because here comes Irvine now flying through, and hopefully the guys behind him, or ahead of him I should say, then can look in their wing mirrors and see this Haas is flying, because they need to get out of the way then of Irvine, because he is on a flying lap here. And now down the back straight goes the Haas driver then. Let's see what he can do then as we go powering down then towards the final couple of corners. Thankfully the Mercedes and the Racing Bull then got out of the way, as did his teammate as well then. But there's a Ferrari, no, the Ferrari has got himself going as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Oh dear, Irvine's had a crash. What is he doing? Goodness me then. Irvine is seems to be having a few problems there, put it that way. But yes, that is that, I'm afraid. Goodness me. Irvine then going to be starting no higher than P8 in this race. Then Beast has retired from the in the pit lane, I should say. Then he has done and dusted in qualifying. He only did 2 attempts then. He got himself on pole position then. But can this man, or can Mumford, or can Plotters, or can Camaro taken away from him here? We'll find out then in the latter stages of the qualifying session then underway, or I should say then. Swanshanks then improves to 28.7, then puts himself P14. Farf is done. Same for Vintage and for Vest and for Riyadh, I should say. Then no time on the board then for those two, those three, I should say. Goodness me. We've had someone jump up the order. I think it was Vanquish, but we've got another driver then jumping up the order. It's Jay Hings then up into P10. There were 26.7 then for Jay Hings into the top half of the order. Here comes Gordo. Then Gordo up to the line. It's P13 then for Gordo. Then he's unfortunately for Duke, he's retired in the pit lane then, so he is done and dusted in qualifying as well. Then Gordo P13 at best here as well. Then here comes Mr. Elite. Then Mr. Elite's going to be flying through. Didn't see what delta improvement he's got then, but here he comes then for his final attempt in qualifying here up to the line for the McLaren driver. Let's see what it's going to be. It's going to be he's improved then by 36,000 of a second, but not enough, unfortunately. Then Marvsky back in the pit lane. We've got a Ferrari of Vessia then coming through. Then Vanquish up into P7. It's the other Ferrari there. Here he comes Vessia now up to the line for his first run then, his only run in qualifying. P12 then for Vessia then into this session, and Kiki crosses the line. He's done a 25.988. But it's not enough to beat his teammate then so far. It's looking like a Mercedes front row lockout as Tonto back in the pit lane. Reflection's still going. I think Reflection is done and dusted as well then here in qualifying. So that is your order then, I think, for the Miami Grand Prix then. But goodness me, what a lap indeed then from Beast, and he was very confident indeed that it wasn't going to be beaten as well, as he retired with only 4 minutes left of the session. And that was very comfortable indeed then. Fantastic. And he was got himself, well, Mercedes have got themselves a front row lockout here in Miami, which is pretty impressive stuff indeed then. And we'll run through the classification very shortly then, but it's looking good then for Mercedes. Both the Alpines up there as well then. Plotters and Camaro Racer looking strong. Vanquish, both the Hasses in the top 10 as well then. Jay Hings rounding off P10 as well then. So good stuff from Jay Hings then, once again getting himself into the fight for the points pen positions, as we've seen from him in the first 5 rounds as well then so far this season. Brilliant stuff indeed then. We're riding on board with the P2 man, Kiki, He is P2 behind his teammate as well then. So that is that then. So Ultimate Beast then pole position then for the Miami Grand Prix. Once again, another pole position then for Beast. Kiki, his teammate on the front row as well then. So both the Mercedes leading the way. Mumford P3 then. Red Bull of Plotters P4. Camaro P5. Sweet Angel P6. Vanquish P7. Tonto P8. Irvine P9 and Jay Hings rounds off the top 10. Then Reflection, Vessia P11 and 12. Then Duke P13. Gordo P14. Mr. Elite and Marvsky P15 and 16 for the McLarens. Swanshanks then P17, Farf, Vintage and Riyadh then didn't get a time on the board here. Evening all from Vintage as well. Good evening to yourself, Vintage, and good luck then for the Grand Prix. Of course, he has jumped into the Racing Bull then for this one. And it is looking dry then for the start, at least, of the Miami Grand Prix in silver, that is. Of course, if you haven't watched the gold race last night, then it was a wet one. But that's all I'm going to spoil it for. But there we go then. We've got 29 laps here to unfold then. Will it be dry conditions for the whole of the Grand Prix, or will it change somewhere in the middle? Then we'll find out then as we get ourselves ready for the start of the Grand Prix. Right then, back in the action then. We are ready. I'm not ready. We are ready to get going here in Miami. It's a bit of an overcast day as it stands then. It looks like then from the get-go here in this race. At least it's not raining. That's all we can say then, I suppose. But so far so good then. Nobody choosing the soft compound tyres here in this first, the first stint for this race, that is. So we'll have to wait and see if they're going to be used at all in this Grand Prix, but we will find out then towards the end. Then it looks like it is getting a bit overcast here indeed. Then I'm not quite sure if there is rain on the forecast or not. We will find out then. Good luck all from Gordo as well then in the comment section. Gordo then taking the start of the race then from P14, and let's have a good one indeed then from Silver as well then. So then we've got the top 10 all on medium compound tyres, which is quite easy to go through. So everybody from Multiple East down to Jay Hings, then Beast having a bit of a problem then trying to go through the chicane. But there we go. And then we've got Reflection in P11 then on the hard compound tyres. So he is the highest runner then on the hard compounds then in the Williams car. P11 then Vessia, Duke, medium compound tyres P12 and P13. Then Gordo on the hards in P14 as well. Mr. Elite then opting for the medium compound tyres, but his teammate Marvsky opting for the hard compounds and having a bit of a problem then with the wall there as well. Then Swanshanks then, sorry Marvsky, I did see that. Swanshanks opting for the soft medium compound tyres, then P17. Farf on the hards then in the first of the racing balls then with Vintage on the mediums in P19 and Riyadh in P20. Didn't get a lap time on the board then in qualifying, starting on the hard compound tyres then from the back of the grid. The leaders then have already got themselves into their grid slots, it looks like. And there we go then. Beast has lined himself up then, ready to get going. We'll have to sit on board, I think, with this angle, potentially. Yeah, no, not that. Yeah, that's all right. Good stuff. Right, then we'll have to sit on board with this angle then to take the race start. And see how they get away then from the front of the pack then. Right then, everyone has got themselves, almost got themselves lined up in their grid slots. Then we will get ourselves ready for the Miami Grand Prix. Come the lights then. 5 red lights are on in Miami. The 5 red lights are out in Miami, and away we go then for the Miami Grand Prix round 6 of Silver Season 8 then. So far so good then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then we'll switch to the position changes because I couldn't tell what was going on there. Camaro Race has got himself past Plotters. Then there's all sorts of accidents and incidents there. There's a Williams then and a Red Bull then getting tangled together. And goodness me, then that is dangerous stuff indeed. Then both the Haas is up 3 places each. Then they're flying out there in the Haas pair. The Ferrari is then battling away. Then Vessia's got a great start. Then Favre's got a good start as well. Then he's trying to get himself through the field. Then passes the Williams pair. Then Reflection on the hard compound tyres is starting to struggle. And in this first lap, then compared to those on the mediums, then there's a collision then with Mr. Elite. Then Mr. Elite's had a problem. Then he's got, I think he's got wing damage there as well. Then as he clouted, no, he hasn't got wing damage there somehow. But I could have sworn he clouted the wall. Then potentially it might have been Marvsky, but I couldn't tell which one it was then as we fly through sector 2 now as well. Duke has got himself past Plotters dropping down the field. Then I think he's got wing damage, then has the Red Bull car, unfortunately for him. Then Kamara Race has also got wing damage as well. Then he has got, I think those two came together then into turn 2 and 3 as they're now going side by side through the technical part of the circuit. I'm not sure they're going to be too happy with each other there, but nonetheless we have to carry on then. Beast then keeps hold of the lead. Then Kiki P2 stays where he was then on the starting grid. Then same for Mumford in P3. These three are challenging for the championship as they are challenging for the win in this race as well. Good luck, Chappers. Good luck, Silver. Sorry, says Chappers. There we go. I've got myself sorted. And good luck all from the Mushroom as well then as we go flying through. Lap 2 has commenced then. DRS now available then for those who are within a 1 second window of the car ahead. Unfortunately for Vessia, he's just outside. Into the pits comes Kamara and Plotus as well. Then, unfortunately, they're going to have to sort out their front wing damage and get themselves back underway here. Gordo's got himself up 6 places. Then a great start indeed on the hard compound tyres. We'll switch on lap 3. We'll switch on to the tyre compounds to see what everybody's on. But there's only a few on the hard compound tyres. Everybody else is on the medium compound tyres. I think it's only about 4 or 5 then on the hards. Everybody else on the medium compound. So we'll have to wait and see which one is going to be the best race tyre then as Kiki almost out of that 1 second window to his teammate. Then he needs to try and hold on to that DRS window to drag himself along then with the power of the rear wing opening up then down the back straight. Then of course there's 3 DRS zones around here as Vanquish and Gordo then switching places then into the heavy braking zone. Then at the end of that second back straight, then here we go then round the technical part of the circuit. Then Vanquish trying to hold it round the outside, which turns to the inside now. The same for Gordo. Then they're going to go side by side through there. That is not where you want to go side by side through there. And Gordo has got a 10-second penalty then for corner cutting, and that is exactly why you don't want to go side by side through there, because that is dangerous stuff indeed. And of course Gordo can get removed by reporting it after the race as well then, but yes, not sure. He's got another 10-second penalty as well then for corner cutting and gaining a place then somehow, but he was behind Vanquish. So that is very odd indeed then. He will of course have to get that served, but of course can get it removed as well then after the race as well with his race director out in front. Then the gap inside to emerge then both the Alpines then on the charge then as we up into P4 as well then, but he's lost out to the top 3 in terms of the DRS as it stands. Then the Haas pair doing a fantastic job then, P5 and P6 again for those two. Then Gordo has got himself past Vessia as well somewhere, but unfortunately with the penalty situation then that's going to be very costly indeed then. I think he's got 20 seconds of penalties, has he? Yes, he has. Goodness me. So there we go then. We'll switch on to the tyre compounds now as well then. But Gordon then I think has got 10 or 20 seconds of unfair penalties there, which again will be reviewed after the race for sure, because I don't think that is was entirely his fault then. But there we are then. We'll have to deal with that later on then in the at the end of 29 laps as well then. So far so good then. Unfortunately for Kamara and Plotters, they have had to pit then. Kamara onto the medium compound tyres then. He is 20 seconds off the back of the grid then. Plotters onto the hard compound tyres from P20 then of course started on the medium compound tyres and switching over then to the different tyre. Of course you have to use at least 2 different tyre compounds in the dry, if there is staying a dry race that is. Kiki then trying to cover off a non-existent overtake attempt then from Mumford. Then here comes Vessia, then passes Gordo then into the penultimate corner. Then he's got the move then up ahead then into P7 now ahead of the Aston Martin. Now the Aston Martin's in a bit of a sandwich between the Ferraris. But of course he's on a different strategy than he's on the hard compound tyres. He's the highest runner on the hard compound tyres ahead of Reflection, Farf, Marvsky and Riyad. Then of course Plotters has pitted in with the wing damage and sustained on lap 1. Swanshanks picks up a 3-second penalty, and he is the only driver then so far with a legitimate penalty, that is, because of course Gordo's 20 seconds of penalties will have to be removed then after the Grand Prix. But so long as he doesn't do a 2-stop, he will only have to serve one 10-second penalty, I think. I believe, then when he does make his scheduled stop, then supposing it stays dry, that is, and he is doing a one-stop, then we'll have to find out. Then we'll have to get ourselves through the 29 laps to find out what he's going to do. But Kiki then just holding on to the DRS just about then of his teammate. Then Mumford waiting in the wings. Then they've dropped Sweet 100p. Then here comes Gordo back on Vessia. Then into P7. Then in Sector 2. Then the Aston Martin back ahead now as we've got more action then between Vintage and Swanshanks. Then for P17 then, and Vintage has got the move then on the Kick Sauber up into P17 then for the Racing Bull. Then into the chicane we go then, side by side almost, or not side by side. There is side by side with Mr. Elite and Vanquish. Goodness me, not an opportune overtaking move. Let's put it that way. Vanquish then is battling away with Mr. Elite. Then they're on the medium compound tires, both of them. Then as Vanquish has lost out then to the McLaren driver who's battling then for P9. Then got the DRS then as well then on the cars ahead, but he's lost out. They both lost out then to the train ahead of Gordo and Vessia. Then as we go through into lap 5 now as well, then as we cross over the start finish line, Vanquish might have a look here and try and get himself back through. Then Sweet 100p has been passed by Tonto into turn 1 as well. Then Tonto now up into P4. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then Mr. Elite and Vanquish then side by side into turn 1 as well. Then Vanquish then gets his nose ahead and into P9 back ahead of the McLaren. Then good stuff indeed. Then good battling indeed as well. Then can Vanquish get himself back in the DRS range of his teammate then to pull himself along with that rear wing opening through the 3 occasions of the lap. Then Vanquish, goodness me, then flying off the circuit. Then 3-second penalty as well for his troubles, unfortunately, as well. Kicking off nice and early, I see, he says serious rush, and then Gordo looked pushed off, I think. Yes, it looked like there was some sort of, I think that was when Gordo got his penalty then, wasn't it, into the underpass chicane section. There, here comes Farf on reflection then for P11, and he has got the position then just about then. I think we've had some more action somewhere as well then. Oh my goodness me, Vessia going very deep then, and Gordo almost into the back of the Ferrari as well then, into the technical part of the lap. Then Tonto's been repassed by Sweet 100p in P4 now for the Alpine, P5 for the Haas then as they switch back positions. Then the top 3 then scampering off in the distance, or trying to, as Riyadh has got himself past Duke. Then Duke has had an issue. Where's Duke? Then Duke's had an issue. Then it's in the chicane, and he has reset to track then as well. Then I'm not quite sure what happened there to Duke then, if he got spun around or if he spun himself through there on the curve as well. Then Gordo's got himself back past the Vessia, and Mr. Elite and Vanquish are side by side through here as well. Then goodness me, then Vanquish holds on to P9 for the time being. But goodness me, that was close indeed. Then Mr. Elite looking strong out here. I don't want to jinx him because he's doing a great job then, potentially on for his first points of the season here tonight. Then Gordo, oh dear, Gordo's having a few connection problems there as well then, it seems. Then trying to get himself through turn 1 and 2. A yellow flags then, I think, for Duke. Then Duke's had an issue. No, it's not, it's Swanshanks. No, it's a Red Bull of Riyadh. Riyadh's had an issue then somewhere. Riyadh then back onto the circuit. Where is that then? It's turn 2 and 3, isn't it? Yeah, Riyadh's had an issue on the curves. Then Duke is in the pit lane to service that car, getting a new front wing on the kick salver then, and back underway then out in front. Then only 6 or 5 tenths of a second almost covers the top 3. There they are then in the shot. Then Beast locking up then, and goodness me, I thought that could have been resulting in a spin. Then Gordo's been repassed, I should say, then by Vessia. Then these two resuming their battle as well. Vanquish, Mr. Elite, Reflection, and Farf waiting in the wings as well here as Gordo's trying to get that car pointed in the right direction as well. Then through the chicane we go once again then for Gordo, and looking strong indeed then. Oh goodness me, there's a wall there, sir. He's ghosted now as well. Goodness me, what is going on for Gordo then? He is having a bit of a problem out there, I think, with his internet at the moment. It seems potentially it's his internet. I'm not quite sure if it's just the lobby or it's his internet, but there we go then. Tonto's back up into P4, passes Sweet 100p once again then into the penultimate corner, then onto lap 6, I think, or lap 7. No, we're on lap 7. Blimey, we're flying through then. Mr. Elite and Vanquish then side by side through the penultimate corner as well. Then this time Mr. Elite, I think, has got the move, has he? Although Vanquish is still there, he's still there. He needs to be given some space as well then in towards turn 1 then, and he has got the position then, has Mr. Elite, up into P9 now, trying to challenge Gordo and Vessia then for P8 and P7, but he needs to hold off the attack then from Vanquish as well then into, goodness me, out of turn 3 then, and Farf is trying to make an opportune move as well then into P10, then into the top 10 then for Farf. Of course, a podium sitter then in, where was it? No, it wasn't last week in silver. It was in the 100% league then in China, wasn't it? No, it was in Miami, actually. So, yeah, here. So there we go then. Goodness me. Right then, so far so good then. The battles have been pretty epic so far. Unfortunately, only three drivers have had an issue then. That was Kamara and Plotters then together on the first lap, then through turns 2 and 3 then on the race start there. And I think that might have been costly indeed for both of them, both having to pit at the end of lap 1 for a wing change, as Mr. Elite then holds on to P9 for the time being as well. Then Gordo's got himself back ahead of Vessia as we go through. Then Farf has got a 3-second penalty then, I think, through the chicane, so potentially that could be reviewed as well. We'll have to wait and see then. I think Vessia is going to line up a move then on the attack then for P7 once again. Then they've lost a lot of time. They've lost a lot of time then to the top 6 ahead of them. Then they're 5 seconds behind then is Vessia, then behind Irvine, that is, as we go through into lap 8 now as well. Then Vessia back up into P7 now. Mr. Elite holding strong then in P9 for the time being as well. Then Vanquish rounds off the top 10. Then he's got himself back past Farf as it stands. And I think Farf is missing an end plate then on the right hand side. Yes, he is missing an end plate on the right hand side of that racing ball there as well. That is odd stuff indeed. You was right first time, 100%, and I was right first time, apparently. So I don't know what I was right about, but there we go. Farf then is lining up a move this time again on the Ferrari of Vanquish. Then he's up into P10 once again, then I think at the same spot. But of course we saw Vanquish repass then down this straight here as well. Then can that history repeat itself then on the previous lap, from the previous lap then, as Reflection's got himself past Vanquish as well. And potentially we're seeing the medium compound tyres starting to fall off here as Sweet MGP's back past Tonto car up into P4 then is the Alpine driver. Then Tonto dropping down to P5 as Gordo has got himself back past Vessia. Then these two carrying on their race-long battle so far, 8-lap battle. Irvine's got a 3-second penalty then coming through this chicane system as well. Then again, I think that chicane is getting a bit treacherous indeed in terms of the penalties that are racking up then. Of course, if it is an unwarranted penalty like Gordo's penalties, then of course we can get that reviewed and removed. Of course, provided you provide your race director at the end of the race, along with the footage of you receiving the penalty and serving the penalty if it's one that you're serving as well. Vessia then back past Gordo as Mr. Elite's going for a dive on down into the penultimate corner. Then not quite then for Mr. Elite. Can he get that move then? He has got the move, I think. Yes, he has then up ahead. No, goodness me. I think Gordo is having a few struggles out there with his connection. And here comes Gordo there on the attack then down the inside at turn 1. And Mr. Elite, I think, has had to yield then to the Aston Martin, then going back through into P8 as brilliant stuff indeed. Then Farf then on the charge. Trying to go around the outside of the McLaren this time. Oh my goodness me, then Farf going for a move then, and that is dangerous stuff indeed then, especially when there's Farf involved. Thankfully Mr. Elite then was wise to the racing ball, then charging through. Oh my goodness me, I thought he was going to go late on the brakes and into the back of the racing ball there as well then, but not quite then. I think this is where the medium compound tyres are starting to drop off, because now Reflection is on the charge as well on the hard compound tyres. There he goes then up into P10, then passes Mr. Elite then as well with the aid of some DRS as well. I think those hard compound tyres now switching to the favourable tyre here in this race as it stands in lap 9 of 29. Of course, then there is still 20 laps to go then, but I would imagine that the medium compound tyres then will be starting to think about, or those on the medium compound tyres I should say, then will be starting to think about pitting then in the next 2 laps or 3 laps or so then for the hard compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. But there we go then. Farf is now on the charge again, trying to head off Gordo as well then, but Reflection's coming with him out in front. Then Tonto's had a problem, then Tonto's had a spin then at the penultimate corner. Goodness me, that is going to be costly indeed for Tonto. Where is he? He has lost out to a lot of drivers there as he got himself back around then. He has got himself back around just in time. He's coming into the pit lane now as well. Unfortunately with Tonto, we didn't see what the result or reason for that spin was, as Farf has got himself past. Farf has got himself past up into P8, then Reflections up into P9, and Mr. Elite then holding on to P10 for the time being. And then unfortunately Tonto in the pit lane, and I don't think he's got any wing damage then, but he's pinning for the hard compound tyres and back underway. Then he's going to have to hope for an undercut here to try and get himself back into play. Then Jay Hings has pit as well. I'm not sure if there was a hold there for Jay Hings then, but he's back out onto the hard compound tyres and back underway. Then Riyad's gone through, then Vanquish onto the hard compound tyres as well. Then pit stops for Jay Hings then coming out the box, then P19 then, but he will be of course getting himself back underway in this race, and hopefully he can get himself back into contention for this race as well. Then out in front Not out in front then, sorry, back to this battle here then, because Gordo, Vessia and Farf then are battling away. Then Farf going down the inside there, and goodness me, then Gordo's getting his elbows out. Farf's getting his elbows out in retaliation as well. Then Gordo's lost the front right end plate there, and that could be dangerous stuff indeed for Gordo. I'm not quite sure. I think Farf's also lost his end plate somewhere as well. Then Irvine's back past Sweet, or there's another Haas, I should say, back past Sweet, because Irvine now takes P4. Tonto was in that battle as well then, but he had a problem on this lap, on the last lap, just here somewhere, and is now pitted then for the hard compound tyres. These two carrying on then. Vessia then is next on the medium compound tyres. He's going to come in then. Gordo is battling away with Reflection now. Reflection trying to go through for P8 then. Gordo starting to struggle here. Vessia then has stayed out as well then. He is 7 seconds off the top 5 as it stands in. Far trying to challenge then for that P6 position. Reflection trying to go with him as well then. Gordo then, I think, on those hard compound tyres starting to having a few issues there. And that wing damage, I think, is going to be costly indeed as well then. Here comes Farf then, once again, trying to make a move then in an unorthodox location, which is unusual, not unusual for Farf, I should say. But there we go. And lining up a move then for P6 then on Vessia, as those hard compound tyres definitely now much better in comparison then to the medium compound tyres. And Kiki has taken the lead on lap 11. He's got himself past his teammate then into sector 2, and now the changing of the guard then in terms of the Mercedes order, that is, from the race start then. Beast has led every lap then apart from up to now, as Farf and Vessia then have switched places. Then Farf up into P6 now, ahead of the Ferrari, as Duke has retired in the pit lane. He has pitted for the soft compound tyres, and unfortunately he has quit. He is out of the race here. But here we go then. Again, 0.4 of a second separate the top 3 then still in this race on lap 11 as we go into the penultimate corner to finish off lap 11 as well. Then on to lap 12 then. Duke's car just coming out the pit lane, so hopefully he gets himself moved off the track. Then into the pits comes Beast, I think. Yes, it is Beast into the pits. He is calling it a day on the medium compound tyres already then. So let's see what he's going to go on to. I think it'll be the hard compound tyres. We will wait and see. It is the hard compound tyres. Back underway he goes then. Sweet MGP into the box as well then from P5. Irvine has carried on then. So Irvine has now got a 5-second gap to the top 3. Top 2, I should say then. Farf into P4 now. Vessia carries on as well then. Duke has left the session. Reflection now P6 then, trying to get himself past the Ferrari then, who's starting to slow him up now on those old medium compound tyres. Here comes Reflection. He's already got himself through into sector 1 before the S's section, then before turns 5, 6 and 7 fly up towards in here, as now Mr. Elite then is waiting in the wings as well. P7 for the time being. Then Mumford has taken the lead. Mumford has taken the lead into P6. We've got yellow flags for Swanshanks, I think. Is it Swanshanks? Yes, it might. I'm not quite sure. Goodness me. But there we go then. Jay Hings is back underway then. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Jay Hings then. He seems to have had some sort of issues then in this race then, because he's dropped off the back of the field and he's onto a fresher set of hard compound tyres and can go to the end of the Grand Prix from here, but not quite sure what happened to Jay Hings, because he started in P12 roughly, and he's not had a great first stint then, but can he crawl it back? I'm sure he can. Here comes Kiki on the attack then. Kiki going into P1, back into the race lead then on lap 12, and back into the race lead then on the same lap then that he lost the lead, of course, with Mumford overtaking him. Anybody coming into the pit lane then for the top 2? Not quite then. They're staying out once again then. Irvine coming around the penultimate corner then. Let's see what Irvine's going to do. He's going to come in the box. Yes, he is. Into the pit lane and goes the Haas driver. Slowing it down just in time, please. Yes, he is. Good stuff. As Farf comes round the penultimate couple of corners as well now. Farf now into podium places. Then Reflection will carry on as well. Then Vessia and Mr. Elite then both coming into the box as well then, calling it a day on their medium compound tyres here in this race. Of course, there's going to be quite a bit of a flip now in terms of strategy then. Who's doing what then, and where is the best strategy then, as Vintage into the pits as well then for the hard compound tyres too. Jay Hings will be promoted up the order, I'm imagining, very soon indeed. Vanquish has got a 3-second penalty then for multiple warnings, and that is through turns 1 and 2. There's a Ferrari off. No, I thought it was Vessia then, but I think he was coming out the pit lane, and I thought it was. It looked like he was off the circuit then. Kamara Racer is off the circuit then. He's gone very wide then for some reason. Then in the first couple of corners, then Beast has got himself past Gordo. Then Gordo, of course, yet to pit then, and Beast now onto the freshest hard compound tyres. Well, not the freshest then, because Irvine's just come out the pit lane as well then. But Beast then on a fresh set of hard compound tyres has got himself back up into P5. Then Swanshanks has got a penalty then for his troubles as well. Then somewhere in the lap as well. Then Irvine's got himself past Riyadh now. No, he's not. He's got himself past. Sorry, Sweet MGP's got himself in a battle then with Irvine. Then for that, once again, these two resuming their battle. I think then for that P4, P5 position. I think towards the end of this race. And of course, once the pit stops have all unfolded, we'll be able to get a better idea of where everybody is going to be on the grid. But of course, the hard compound runners who started on the hard compound tyres, that is, are going to be running a bit longer than in this first stint. Then lap 14 of 29 has commenced. Then here comes Kiki trundling down the pit lane. And he's behind. No, he's ahead of Mumford somehow. Just about then. They've sort of glitched together there. Far from Reflection go through on the hard compound tyres. Beast up into P3. Then Gordo carries on. Then P4. Kiki coming out the pit lane here. Where is he going to be in respect to the rest of the field? Then Marvsky coming through turn 1. Then he's ahead. Sorry, he's behind Kiki and Mumford then by 3 seconds or so then. As we go through into sector 1, then we've got more moves then for Mr. Elite, then getting himself past Vessia. Then Swanshacks has got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit. Then unfortunately for the kick salvage, it's not going their way tonight here in this race so far. Then Mr. Elite is up into P13, passing Vessia then in the pit stop phases. Of course, there is still quite a lot of drivers who get to pit. Then Riyadh, Marvsky, Gordo, and we've got the top 2 as well then, as Reflection has been passed then by Ultimate Beast then for P2. Then Beast now up into back up into P2 I should say then, but now trying to challenge for the race lead then. Of course, Farf yet to pit then in this Grand Prix, so he is technically a pit stop behind then the current the net race leader I should say then, as Beast I think is going to make up a movement, make a position, make a move for the race lead once again then here for the Beast. Here he comes then with some DRS then down the back straight. Kiki's due a result then, says Serious Mushroom then. Of course, Kiki's had a bit of bad luck then in the previous races. Then, of course, he's done a great job, though, in terms of qualifying pace then, as Marvsky has been passed by Irvine, and Kiki has got himself past Gordo, has he? Yes, he has then. Oh, goodness me, and Gordo almost chopping off the Mumford, then chopping off the front wing, and then of the Alpine, who is flying through there on his fresh tyres as well. Then pit stops for Farf and Reflection as they come into the box then from the former race lead. Kiki is now 3 seconds behind his teammate, but he's got 2 lap fresher tyres then, so that might play a factor towards the end of the Grand Prix. Mumford waiting in close proximity, then Gordo is carrying on, but he's staying with these drivers now as well. Then Sweet MGP, then P5, then a net P4 that is, but Irvine is right behind him as well. Then Marvsky trying to hold on to the back of the coattails then of the Haas, as we've got more pit stop activity. Then here comes Farf and Jay Hings, then side by side almost out of the pit lane there. That was almost dangerous stuff indeed, but goodness me, then Kamara then back in the box, then hard compound tyres going on the Williams car. Right then, Reflection has come out quite a long way ahead of Farf as well. I think Farf might have replaced his front wing there. Reflection still, no, Reflection doesn't have any damage. Then I thought we had somebody else with damage, potentially it was Gordo. I think Gordo might have been the other one with yes, he's got a right end plate missing there, hasn't he, on the Aston Martin, so potentially that might have been might be a slow stop then for Gordo when he does come in the pits, and he's got a 10-second penalty to serve, of course, after the lap 1 or lap 2 shenanigans, I should say. He has got some DRS then still on the 2 ahead of them, but here comes Mumford then for the attack, then P2 then for Mumford, of course, trying to keep up the pace then with Beast, then who is championship challenger, I should say, trying to extend the gap then, or trying to keep the gap from extending so far then in the championship order then, but he's now up into P2 then. In comes Vessia, then Mr. Elite and Reflection, then Reflection on the medium compound tyres, trying to line up a move then on Vessia, then can he get himself through into the penultimate corner? Not quite though. Here he comes now on the attack, then down the main straight though. Reflection on the medium compound tyres, of course, is going to be a bit faster than those on the hard compound tyres, we would expect. But no moves into turn 1 for the time being, that is. We've gone to lap 16 of 29. There's still 13 laps to go at the end of this one then, so there's still plenty of racing to go in this Grand Prix as well then. In the background then, Tonto has got himself back up into P10 then. Of course, there's still 3 drivers to pit ahead of him, so he's still running in the top 7, or net P7 I should say, as it stands then, so it's not all doom and gloom then for Tonto, because of course he had that horrible spin then at the penultimate corner then, but he's still on track then for some points paying positions, or points coming here tonight I should say then. Goodness me, Reflection's got himself past, oh no, we've got Tonto passing Vanquished then into P9 already, as I was saying that, talking about positions gained then, he's got himself up into P9, then Reflection's passing Vessia then for P11, Mr. Elite then trying to get his nose in there as well. Then we've got Farf and Plotters then battling away, then Plotters having of course going for a longer stint, then of course having to pit on the first lap for a wing change as well then, so he is out of sync then with the rest of the order, unfortunately for him. Jay Hing is now coming up to the back of this pack as well. Right then, so far so good then. Mr. Elite now on the back of Vessia. Then here comes Mr. Elite then on the Ferrari driver. Then can he line up a move then for P12? Yes, he can. Then he's up into P12 now, and he's taken the place then away from Vessia. Very nicely done. All not so nicely done indeed on the penultimate corner though, and that is very dodgy indeed. Then, and that has opened the door for Vessia to come back through then back up into P12 with Mr. Elite then having a bit of a dodgy time then through the penultimate corner. Then sets the fastest lap of the race. Then goodness me, that is dangerous stuff indeed. Then Reflection now into the top 10 then with we've got pit stops for Riyadh. Then Riyadh is in the box now, so Riyadh calling it a day then on the hard compound tyres, opting for the medium compound tyres. And will he be? I think he'll be out ahead of Vintage with the exit of the pit lane, then coming out at turn 2 and not at turn 1. Then it's going to be close indeed. Then goodness me, it's close indeed. And they have gone through then Kamara and Vintage as well. Then so unfortunately for Riyadh, then he's back down to P18, but he's on the medium compound tyres now and going to go very quickly indeed, I imagine. Gordo's lost out to Sweet MP. Then Irvine trying to get his nose in there as well. Then he is on the fresher hard compound tyres. Sorry, Gordo yet to pit in this Grand Prix. So that is why Irvine and Sweet MP were fighting so quickly to get themselves through. They have got DRS then. They're in a battle then for P4 as it stands there, but unfortunately Irvine has somehow has picked up a penalty. Then Mumford has been passed by Kiki then into the penultimate corner, then onto lap 17, or no, onto lap 18 I should say then. Here then for the race leaders then. Crossing the line then is Beast then to take the race lead then onto lap 18. Gordo then is trying to hold on, but I think those tyres are starting to drop off now. Too much for Gordo to hold on to the fighting pack then, to those who are on their fresher hard compound tyres. Here comes Irvine on the attack then down the inside into turn 1. He's got the move, he's got the position up into P4 now for Irvine. Brilliant stuff indeed then. He's going to have to hope that Sweet MP picks up a penalty somewhere so that he can hold on to that P4 then at a net gain, that is, at the end of the race. Then here comes Vessia then on the attack. Then Mr. Elite has to slot in behind. Then goodness me, that was dangerous stuff indeed from Mr. Elite. But he's managed to keep himself on track then and keep everybody else in the right position as well. Then goodness me, there's still 2 to pit then, so that would put Farf and Vessia then into the top 10 then, with Gordo and Marsky yet to make their stops as well then, but potentially they might be going for a longer first stint then and onto a set of soft compound tyres. We might see some soft compound tyres towards the end of this race. Of course, if you're out of the top 10, you can go for, well, it doesn't matter which position you're in, you can be in the top 10 as well then, but if you're at the back of the field, then you can go for the soft compound tyres towards the end of the race. Get yourself a fastest lap point, because it goes to any driver then, wherever you are on the finishing field, I should say then, so long as you are in the car and in the race to the checkered flag then. Yeah, anybody can get the fastest lap point then. So if it's all doom and gloom then, if it's not going your way, do what I do and just crawl around at the back for a bit, then get yourself onto a set of softs at the end and go for the fastest lap then. And if you're like me, you won't get it because you're too slow. But I am competing in gold, so that's my problem. So there we go then. I did try it yesterday as well, and I think I was still 2 seconds off the fastest lap set by Sam Swift. And there we go then, pit stop then for Marsky. Then he is calling it a day then on the hard compound tyres after 18 laps now. So that's him into the box then. Coming into the box then, he's going to drop out the top 10, unfortunately, for Marsky. He's doing a good job out here then. Mr. Elite has got himself up into P11 and he's past Vessia somewhere. And now trying to get himself into the top 10 very soon then as well then on those hard compound tyres. Potentially we'll have to wait and see how the tyres do fare then. Riyadh has set the fastest lap of the race then on the medium compound tyres. Marsky coming out the pit lane. Where is he coming out the pit lane? And he's going to be ahead of Riyadh just about then, I think. Yes, he is on the fresher set of mediums as well. Then that's going to be close indeed. Then those two are going to be battling away then in this next stint or so, the next 10 laps or so of this Grand Prix here. But like I was saying, then Vessia has well, he's got himself a attack then. He's going to on the attack, I should say, then on Mr. Elite then. But these two are just outside, or going to be net just outside the top 10, I think, when all the pit stops have unfolded. Then Gordo just the one driver then in P6 at the moment, then who's yet to pit then in the top 10. And Plotters, I think, will have to pit as well after making that stop then on the first lap of the race then with that wing damage, like I said. But so far so good then. Soldiering on out there as well then. Kiki is 3.5 seconds off. They're still not bringing that gap down then to the Beast. And Beast is looking very comfortable out there at the moment in this second stint of the race then, going through turns 2 and 3 very nicely indeed then for Ultimate Beast then. Mumford waiting in close proximity then to Kiki. Irvine P4 then, but he's got Swing Repeat for company then. Currently Swing Repeat with no penalties as well then. That will put him into contention then with put him into contention then for P4 as Vanquish and Tonto goodness me, what's happened then for Vanquish and Tonto? Vanquish has got a 3-second penalty, and now Mr. Elite then is all over the back of him here as well. Sorry, not Mr. Elite, Mr. Reflection. Goodness me. What's happening to Vanquish? I think he's got damage then. He's gone off the circuit there. And yes, he seems to have got damage somewhere on this earlier point of this lap. Then I think Tonto was close behind him then, but Tonto has got himself through past Gordo now. But yes, not quite sure what happened there between Tonto and Vanquish. If it was anything, then it might have been Vanquish and having a mistake. Unfortunately for Vanquish, then he's down to P10, and he has got that right end plate missing. Then can he soldier on, though, is the question. I'm not sure is the other question. So there we are then. But there we go. Out in front then, Mumford is trying to keep it in that DRS range. Yes, he has done. Irvine now is being passed by 200p then, but is still in the DRS then of the Alpine. Tonto then with that spin then has recovered to P6 so far. That's looking pretty good so far for him as well. Then Gordo is yet to pit then in this Grand Prix, but he will have to pit then very soon. He's done 20 laps then on the hard compound tyres. Reflection has caught up to this pack behind Gordo and behind Tonto. Now looking to fight for P6 and potentially for Reflection on the medium compound tyres as well. Then he is going to be looking very racy then towards the end of this race. Then Plotters and Jay Hings then carrying on their fight as well. Then Jay Hings losing out then to the Red Bull driver. Then at this point in time, then Vanquish into the box. Then he is calling it. They are having to change that wing, I think, as well. Potentially then for the Ferrari driver, then he is onto a set of soft compound tyres and looking to get himself a point for the fastest lap potentially here. Marvsky, Riyadh and Kamara will fly through. Gordo's in, no, he's not in the box then, sorry, Gordo. He's carrying on then. He is Reflection has got himself past, I should say, then into P7 now. Reflection's done a good job then in this race so far. Then now Farf has caught up to the back of the Aston Martin as well. Then we've got Irvine, going for a move for P4, and he's got the move then on Sweet P then into, oh goodness me, then Sweet P then sliding his way through the corner then, and that has lost him a lot of time indeed. Then that's lost him the DRS then to the Haas driver. That's going to be very costly indeed if he can't get himself back in that window. Then unfortunately that mistake then, that locking up then has been very detrimental. Then he's got himself back in DRS already. Then never mind. Then Tonto's picked up a penalty. That's bad news for Tonto then through the underpass section as well. Then has he got DRS then? No, he hasn't then, but he has got himself back in that 1 second window then for the next lap. Then Tonto's picked up a penalty. That's going to be good news for Reflection, potentially good news for Farf. Then we'll have to wait and see. Then Gordo's dropped down to P9, but yet to pit. Then Mr. Elite then is on track then to get himself back up into P9 when Gordo does pit. Of course, he's got Vessia for company then, who is going to promote himself up into P10 when Gordo comes into the box then as well. Then Jay Hings back past Plotters then for P12. And is on the brink then of the points. Then if anything goes awry, then Plotters will have to come in the pits very soon and go for a set of soft compound tyres or something along that line. Then Gordo then is he's not coming in the pits at all. Then I think Gordo doesn't. I'm not sure if Gordo's realised that he needs to pit at some point. He will have to pit to get himself to keep himself not qualified. Well, yeah, not disqualified, I should say. Kamara Racer and Riyadh then battling away then into turn one. Then Kamara Racer has the line, I think, just about. Goodness me, it's through turns 2 and 3. Then not a place to go, but side by side. But they've managed it somehow. And now back underway then for Kamara Racer as well. Then out in front. Then Gordo is now under pressure from Mr. Elite. Then here comes Mr. Elite. Then on the attack as Reflection, and Tonto has switched places then into sector 2 then. And here comes Farth as well on the medium compound tyres. Mr. Elite has got himself past Gordo up into P9 as well. Now Mr. Elite and Sweet P then is what's happened to Irvine. He was ghosted there. Goodness me, what is going on there through the Mr. Elite's got a 3-second penalty then for his troubles as well. Then going through the underpass section as well. Then penalties starting to rack up here as well. Then we'll have to look at the penalty situation then before the driver of the day poll comes out as well. Then Gordo going to be well out of the points when he pits, unfortunately for Gordo. Yes, that is going to be the problem, I think. But like I said, he has got that 20 seconds of penalties to be removed, providing there is no late safety cars. So we will have to hope that there is no late safety cars for Gordo's sake. But he will have to come in the pit lane and serve a 10-second penalty at least. Then I think he won't have to serve the full 20, but he'll have to serve. He'll have to serve the. As Gordo's been passed by Vessia now into the top 10 then for Vessia, but Gordo then will have to serve. Oh my goodness me! Well, these two seem to be having some problems with their internet there, but I think Vessia has somehow lagged ahead into P10. Gordo has lagged behind into P11 there, so I'm not quite sure what's happened then between those two, but that is that then. So yeah, Gordo will have to make a pit stop and serve a 10-second penalty. Of course, like I said, with his footage of the penalty situation then, which I think occurred on lap 2 then, and the race director of the full race, of every lap then of his race, he'll be able to get that penalty, although both those penalties removed then. Reflection, Tonto and Farf now battling away then for P6. And Reflection has no penalties. So that is going to be very good news then for Reflection. And he is covering off the racing ball then of Farf then as we go through into Sector 3 once again then. Hello, says Forza here. Says good to have you with us as well. Then hopefully Forza, you can get yourself on off the D-pad and onto F124. We'll have you back then for some racing as well. Then good stuff indeed. Then into the penultimate turn then, and unfortunately for Reflection again going very deep. Then that's going to open the door for Farf. Then is it? And he's lost time then to Tonto as well, then going into lap 24, then yellow flags. That is bad news then for Gordo, as no, it's not, it's what's happened. It was somebody, I think it was Gordo then. Has Gordo got a puncture? I'm not quite sure what's happened to Gordo then. He seems to be having some sort of issue then, has Gordo. But he has, no, I don't think he's got a puncture because he's still racing out there. But I'm not sure. He is lagging all over the place, is Gordo. Marvsky's got a 3-second penalty as well then. So if Gordo is listening, he needs to turn the stream off, please, because it is not going well for your connection out there on the track. Then Marvsky has got himself past Riyadh, then into P14, then through the S's section of Sector 1. Then so far so good. Then Kamara Racer has joined this battle. Vanquish on a soft compound now is going to be charging up to this battle as well. Then Swanshanks into the box. Then he's calling it a day then on the hard compound tyres. Already, that's quite quick, but potentially onto a set of mediums or softs to the end of the race here. As Zach has said there, yes, tomorrow and Wednesday then for Serious Mushroom, then he is racing in bronze tomorrow night, which is going to be right here as well then in Miami, round 6 then of bronze season 8 as well then, so that will be live on your screens at the same time tomorrow night then here on ALR. And of course we've got the 100% League, which is going to be in Imola then, previewing the Imola Grand Prix before we get there for gold, silver and bronze then starting on Sunday. So there's going to be lots of ALR action coming up now. Reflection has got a 4-second gap then to Irvine, who's got a penalty then, so we'll have to wait and see. We'll have a look at the penalty situation now. 3 seconds for Irvine then, so he's not in danger then of Reflection just yet then. 3 for Tonto, 3 for Farf and 3 for Mr. Elite as well then. So Vessia could claim back that P9 position, I should say, in this race. Then we've got yellow flags. Kamara Race has got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit then, unfortunately for Kamara. He's going to get himself into the box. Then Gordo is yet to pit as well then, and still seems to be carrying on out there. So he's going to be very lucky then if there's no safety car in this race, potentially could get those penalties removed then, but he has to get himself into the pits at some point as well, because otherwise he'll be disqualified and the penalties won't be removed because he'll be disqualified. As Tonto, Farf and Reflection then battling away, then goodness me, Tonto's gone deep, then he's lost out to 2 places there, and unfortunately for Tonto, he's dropped out from P6 then down to P8 then as well. Then as Farf and Reflection have gone through, Reflection up into P6 now, and of course he has not got any penalties as well out here, so it's not looking too bad then for Reflection, even if the two behind him, I should say, then Farf and Tonto get themselves past, then he can still stay within 3 seconds of the two of them, and get himself that position back as well as we go into the penultimate corner then on lap 26. Sorry, lap 25 then. We're on to lap 26 now, as the race leaders have started off lap 26 then. So we've got 4 laps or 3.5 laps remaining then of this Grand Prix into turn 1. Then Reflection holds on to P6 for the time being. Then Mr. Elite then has got himself out of the 1 second window of Vessia then, but he's now got himself a 2.7 second gap then to the trio ahead of them, who are starting to battle out here as well then. Gordo is still not pitted then, so Gordo then is going to have a few problems then, like I was saying. Firstly, he's got problems with his internet connection, it seems, but he's also going to have problems then with his disqualification then if he doesn't pit onto a different set of tyres. So that will be dangerous stuff indeed then for Gordo. Marsky then is on the back of Riyadh Jamakovic as well then. So far so good then for those drivers then trying to get themselves back into contention. Then of course there's quite a lot of penalties around them, ahead of them I should say then, as here comes Jay Hings then on the back of Plotters then. Of course I think Plotters is he's carrying on out there. If Plotters has not pit then since lap 1, or since the end of lap 1, then he has carried on then has Plotters. Then he's lost out to Jay Hings now, as Jay Hings then back up into P11 there as well. Then if anything goes wrong for drivers up ahead, then Jay Hings could profit and get himself into the top 10 here. But I think Plotters might be sticking it out then to wait for either waiting for a late safety car, which I think is too late now then, because there's not going to be any safety cars now till the end of, from this point of the race then to the end of the race. But I think he might be pitting then for the soft compound tyres and going for that fastest lap point towards the end as well. Then Riyadh has got himself back past Gordo. Gordo is going very slowly out there, and yes, not quite sure what the strategy is then from Gordo. Then he has not pitted in this race. He's done 26 laps then on the hard compound tyres, and he is lagging his way into the pit lane now, it looks like. And there he is then into the box. And yes, he's made it then to the pit lane. Fantastic stuff indeed. Farf and Reflection, then these two battling away, then they've passed each other. Then Farf now up into P6. Then of course Reflection doesn't have to worry too much. Then if he can stay within DRS range, he will have no worries at all. Then here he comes then on the attack then, but Tonto's also on the attack as well. Then on the hard compound tyres. Then here we go then down the back straight, then on to into sector 2, I should say. Then here comes the Williams, here comes the Haas, and the Haas has got himself through then into P7. And like I said, Reflection doesn't need to worry too much then. Of course these three battling away, then they've got penalties, the two ahead of them, so he can just sit behind Reflection and just bide his time then and wait to the checkered flag, then just stay within 3 seconds then of the two ahead, and he can get those places back then. Actually checkered flag then, but here comes Mr. Elite then. Mr. Elite is on the charge then. He's 1.5 seconds back then from this trio, and the battling then with that trio as well. Then it's going to be very costly indeed if Mr. Elite can catch up then, and Vessia potentially as well. Driver of the day is out in the comment section. You've got Beast, Reflection, Irvine and Farf as your candidates then. We'll have a look at the position changes then. Beast is obviously Beast from P1 as we've got yellow flags. Riyadh's had an issue. Riyadh's had a problem then at the exit of the chicane as well. Then he's back underway. Goodness me, not sure what happened to Riyadh then, but he's got himself sorted and back underway as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Vintage then is not close enough, unfortunately, to capitalise on Riyadh's issues there, but he has got himself back underway as well then for Riyadh then. So Beast then from pole position then, he stays pole position, then he's got a 1.8 second lead. That gap has come down to Kiki though, as Kiki has been passed by Mumford then. Mumford then into sector 2 then has taken P2 away then from the Mercedes driver. Then Kiki holding on to the podium places for the time being. There is still a lap to go in this race then. Goodness me, exciting times. Reflection has gained 3 places, then he is on for a P6 position I think there, but with the penalties for Tonto and for Farf as well then. Irvine is up into P5 then. He has gained 4 places. Of course he is not going to lose out to Farf then with the penalty situation. As into the pits comes Riyadh to switch on to a set of soft compound tyres, I would imagine, as we've also got Farfield driver of the day candidate as well. Then he is P6. He will lose out to Reflection. He will drop down either behind Reflection or potentially behind Tonto. If Tonto can get himself past, then of course penalties are the same then for those two as well. Then we've got Vintage having a problem out there as well. What's happened to Vintage then? He's had another issue there somewhere. Oh, a racing ball's had another issue then. So here comes Gordo, then Gordo's coming through. Tonto's got himself through then into, where is that then? Penultimate corner then for Tonto, and Farf and Tonto side by side through there as well then. Goodness me, they're going to be battling away then, very close indeed. Kiki gets a 3-second penalty. That's going to be costly for Kiki. He can't challenge for P2 here. And the gap coming down then on the final lap, 1.3 seconds to Beast as well then. We'll have to come back to that battle very quickly indeed then, because Farf and Reflection then, and now Mr. Elite has joined the fight as well then. Mr. Elite has got a 3-second penalty, but he's got himself a 3-second gap as well now over Vessia. Mr. Elite can get himself within DRS range. That would be very helpful indeed then for the McLaren driver to get his first points of the season, I think. Goodness me. Brilliant stuff indeed then. So far so good then. Here he comes then. Yes, he has got himself DRS then. Onto the back straight we go then, through the underpass section, and Beast then leads the way by 2.1 seconds onto lap 29 then. Here he comes then down the back straight then, and Gordo's got himself past Vintage there as well then. Good stuff indeed then. But here comes Ultimate Beast then, of course a championship contender, P2 currently in the standings, but he's going to bring the gap down back in his favour here as Beast rounds the penultimate corner then through past the Hard Rock Stadium comes the Mercedes driver to win the Miami Grand Prix. A fantastic race win indeed then for Ultimate Beast. Then his fantastic race has been encapsulated then from pole position to the checkered flag. Then a fantastic race win indeed then for Ultimate Beast. Then great stuff indeed for the Beast then. And there's both the Mercedes then lying astern then through turns 2 and 3. Then Mumford P2 in the Alpine. Brilliant recovery stuff indeed, or brilliant race stuff indeed from Mumford. Kiki in P3 rounds off the podium places. Then brilliant stuff from Kiki as well. Then 300p, then P4, Irvine P5. Reflection keeps hold of that position. P6 with the penalties. No penalties for Reflection. Brilliant stuff indeed. My driver of the day indeed as well. Farf P7, Tonto P8, then he still gets some points then for the Haas. Then Mr. Elite then does hold on to that P9 position as well. Then brilliant stuff from Mr. Elite. Then Vessia P10, Plotters does the whole race almost then on the hard compound tyres. Jay Hings P12, Marsky P13, Vanquish is going to come across the line in P14, Kamara Racer P15, Gordo P16, although we'll have to look at the penalty situations then for Gordo as well then. I'm not quite sure why he chose to stay out for so long then on the, as Kamara has got a 10-second penalty as well then, but Gordo then has crossed the line then P16, then Vintage and Riyadh then will cross the line. Potentially Riyadh can get the fastest lap of the race here. We will wait and see. Here he comes then. Yes, he has done. He's got himself a point then, has Riyadh as well then, for keeping in the race then and getting himself to the finish line with the fastest lap time as well then. So fair play to Riyadh then for carrying on in that race then. Driver of the day has gone to somebody else in the comment section, not to Farf, hopefully, but there we go then. Brilliant race indeed then. Smithy's going to need a calculator to work them out for Gordo as well. No, it's not going to be too hard. I can do the quick maths then. There is your podium sisters then. 2 Mercedes on the podium. We've got an Alpine as well then. Beast then is your race winner then in the Mercedes. Fantastic stuff indeed then. Mumford in the Alpine P2, and Kiki rounds off a 1-3 then for the Mercedes team in Miami then. Brilliant stuff indeed. And there's the celebrations then for the top 3 drivers then. Brilliant stuff indeed. A brilliant race indeed. And they were quite clear of the rest of the field for quite a lot of that race, almost after lap 1 then pretty much. And that just shows the caliber then of their competitiveness then in this division then. Brilliant stuff indeed then for Kiki, for Mumford, and for Ultimate Beast then. There is your top 3 then. Beast, Mumford and Kiki rounding off the podium places then. Swindler P4, Irvine P5, Reflection P6, brilliant from him, Farf P7, then Tonto P8, then Mr. Elite P9, Vessia P10, Plotters P11, Jay Hings P12, Marsky P13, Vanquish P14, Vintage in P15, Kamara Racer P16, Riyadh P17, and fastest lap then for him, Gordo P18. Then unfortunately he's going to have a lot of time taken off of his lap time, but he's not going to finish any higher than P14. Then Swanshanks P19, and unfortunately Duke DNF'd in this Grand Prix. Beast then gets the driver of the day in the comment section vote. Then there is your podium sitters then for this race then. Brilliant stuff indeed then from all the drivers in silver tonight then. Fantastic race in Miami then for silver, season 8 round 6 here in Miami as well then. We're going to have bronze tomorrow night then, season 8 then for bronze, round 6 as well then here in Miami tomorrow night then from 7:30, so stay tuned for that one. And of course in the 100% league, the 100% realistic league on Wednesday is going to be previewing the Imola Grand Prix, full race distance then, realistic performance cars. Then we'll have a fantastic race around the historic circuit of Imola then. Looking forward to that one tomorrow, Wednesday night that is, after the bronze race tomorrow night then. So stay tuned to that. There's plenty more action coming up on ALR, and we will be we're looking forward to hopefully getting some interviews done, but I'm not quite sure if anybody's going to actually invite them or not, and to be fair. So
yo
we've got I think we've got some people, but we will have to wait and see then. Bear with us 1 second. I will get the interview screen up. We're just waiting for the drivers to jump into the interview, and we can get ourselves some quick comments then, I think, as Kiki joined us at all.
Yes.
Kiki has joined us then. Good stuff indeed then. You were having a great fight then, and of course, I was just saying in the comments as well then, the top 3, yourself, Mumford and Beast, then were quite in control of that race then from the early stages then. Did you think it was going to be quite comfortable then between you 3 then for the race lead or for the podium places?
Well, it's a tough track anyway, Miami, so anything could happen. But obviously, yeah, I enjoyed it, and obviously congratulations to Beast, and obviously Mumford for getting second.
And you got a penalty at the end then, did you, think you were fighting with Mumford for for P2 in the end of that race. Then did you think, was that costly, or where did you pick up that penalty firstly? Because I can't remember exactly. And also, was that it compounding in your race then, P3 at best, and after that?
Well, I've got it on the last lap, going through the S section. So if I didn't get that, I probably would have got second maybe. I don't know how much ARS Mumford still had on the back straight. But yeah, I'm happy with third considering the 100% race. I got lap 3 times, so.
Yeah, it was definitely better than that one, so fair play indeed. Well done to you for turning the form around on that one as well. Then, and you've had a bit of a unlucky phase in the last couple of races as well for silver, but you've turned the form around today as well. Then the podium 1-3 for Mercedes as well. Then here tonight, then is that your form then for the silver division as well, turning around then here tonight?
Hopefully, mate. Hopefully, like considering like I feel like most of the races now coming up, so hopefully I can do what I did in bronze last season.
Brilliant stuff indeed then. Well, he's got himself another podium then, so that is him kick-starting his silver career then for Kiki then. Brilliant stuff indeed. And like I said, we'll hopefully see you back then next week as well then in Imola. Brilliant stuff from Kiki then, P3 here tonight then in the Mercedes then. Mumford in P2 in the Alpine then. You were stuck in a bit of a sandwich between the Mercedes for most of that race at various points then as well. But how was that race from your point of view then? Did you think you could hold a candle then to the beast then in P1? You look like you're gaining it on him in the last couple of laps there as well.
Yeah, I think in the last couple of laps it was a bit too big of a gap to try and close in. It was pretty much done as soon as Beast undercut. The gap was like 4 seconds, and a two lap undercut. The tyre differential's not really that big around you on the yards, especially so.
But it was still a strong race from yourself then, and of course you were battling with Kiki for quite a lot of that race as well then. Can you tell us about the battles then? Was it all fair and clean then, or have you got any nasty words to say about your Mercedes rivals?
Well, we hardly got close. I was stuck to about 7-8 tenths behind. I couldn't keep up for the first sector, and then I think he made a mistake through the middle sector the one time, which gave me the opportunity to get past, and yeah, it was quite clean from then.
And still a brilliant podium then for yourself. Then you hold on to the championship lead then heading into Imola. Of course, Beast does claim the win, so he's gained 7 points back on you, but you still have the championship lead then. Are you confident then for Imola next week?
I've not done it on this game, so we'll see.
Fair enough then. We'll see what happens next week then, but still a great podium then from Mumford then. P2 here tonight then in the Alpine then. Brilliant stuff indeed then. I'm not sure if Beast has joined us. Has he joined us?
Yeah.
Beast, you joined us. Yes, you have joined us then. Good stuff indeed. Our race winner here tonight then, Beast. Like I was saying in the stream as well then, the top 3 sort of peeled away then, but after the pit stops then, you had quite a sizable gap there as well then after making a earlier pit stop as well, and it seemed like that was quite comfortable for the rest of the race then from that point on.
Pretty challenging the first stint, but once I boxed, I was just doing my own thing. A bit like Mumford said, like once 2 lap undercut is pretty powerful on this game. My tyre wear was bad anyway, so I thought I might as well try it.
And it seemed to work out very nicely for you as well then. So you got yourself another race win under your belt, and like I said to Mumford as well, drawing the fight then for the championship or top of the championship, then back in then after that race win then, and Mumford then finishing P2. Then what's your thoughts then in terms of the championship after tonight?
After China, I was not looking forward to Miami because it's just a terrible track. But after today's results, yeah, I'm feeling a bit better for the championship now. But you know, it's still a long way to go yet, so who knows?
Good stuff indeed. Then, and like I was saying, you basically just we've had quite a few Mercedes drivers then who've just disappeared off in the distance here in Miami. It wasn't all that far just yet, but still a fantastic race from yourself. Then, are you looking forward to Imola as well next week then, or is it another track that just like Mumford, then you haven't done any practice on just yet?
I've raced on it, but not done any set-up practice. But yeah, looking forward to Imola in this track.
Good stuff indeed then. And a Mercedes 1-3 there tonight then. Beast then rounding off from pole position then to the checkered flag. He claims the win here in Miami for silver season 8 then. Brilliant stuff indeed then from Beast, from Mumford and from Kiki as well then on the podium here tonight then. So stay tuned for bronze tomorrow in Miami here as well then for their 6th round of season 8 as well. They'll be taking you through the action here by the Hard Rock Stadium. And then of course on the 100% League in Wednesday we've got the Imola Grand Prix then that's coming up then for the full race distance, so stay tuned for that then. Plenty more action coming up on ALR, and we'll see you very soon.